Located on Highway 160 is a house that most Fort Mill residents may not know about. Tucked behind the trees next to the horse pasture sits Fort Mill's hidden treasure, the White Homestead. It was built around 1831 by William Elliott Springs and Sarah Wilson White. This was the home of Samuel Elliott White, founder of Fort Mill Manufacturing, known today as Springs Industries.
It was constructed beginning with the signing of the contract in 1832. The sole purpose was to live in. William and Sarah had 9 children and they needed a bigger home. He was an up-and-coming businessman, and this 4-story brick structure was a statement of his wealth. Well, the White Homestead, when they signed the contract for construction in 1832, I think Sarah and William had 4 or 5 children at that point, and by the time the house was finished, they had more, and eventually they did have 9 children.
In the 1920s, Colonel Elliott White Springs moved into the White Homestead with his wife Frances Leigh Springs. There they raised their 2 children, Anne Springs Close and Leroy Springs II.
The family story is that Elliott was very close to his grandfather, Sam White. He sort of settled back into his home state. But instead of going to Lancaster, he chose to live in his grandfather, Sam White's house. And he said that was because of his fond memories that he had for his grandfather, Sam White.
The house became a historic site in 1987, and after Hurricane Hugo, the children in trust of the house decided to do some historic restoration.
The house maintenance itself is part of a trust fund that the children of Anne Springs Close inherited together, and so they put money into that trust every year, and that is where the funds come for housekeepers and landscapers and repairs and things like that. It was listed on the National Register of Historic Places for 3 reasons. One, of course, is its unique architectural style for the period of time in which it was built. You would not have seen a brick structure like this after you left Charleston until you got to Williamsburg, so it was quite a showpiece. Now, the second reason that it's on the National Register is because it is the site of the last meeting of the Confederate Cabinet. The generals on April, I think it was 26th, called a meeting on the front lawn of the homestead under the grove of cedars to accept the resignation of George Trenholm, Secretary of the Treasury, and they elected Postmaster Reagan to take his place.
Currently, no one lives in the White Homestead, but occasionally they will have guests that stay for business purposes.
We do have guests that stay. Sometimes it's friends of the family. Sometimes it is family that live out of town. And on occasion we have business associates of some of the family members and the businesses that they're involved in do stay here. And sometimes we have very special guests, like in 1994 when we had President Bill Clinton stay. Most often we have family gatherings. Thanksgiving in particular, we have all the family and friends here. We'll have a house full of guests. We'll have fundraisers for the various interests of the members of the families and things that they're involved in.
Though the White Homestead doesn't have any occupants, it holds an important place in Fort Mill's town history. For Squawk on the Block, I'm Julia Lako.
Well, after World War One, Springs really became a writer, and his first book was Warbird's Diary of an Unknown Aviator, and it became internationally acclaimed, and was published from 1926 right up to 1976. And then we recently released the book in an edited version again in 2017. So his first career, which he did right well and made lots of money himself, was as a writer. But when his father passed away in 1931, he realized he really had to return to Fort Mill, South Carolina, and to run the mills. And so he gave up pretty much his writing career and focused on managing Fort Mill manufacturing, the White Plant, the Lancaster Cotton Mill, Kershaw Cotton Mill, Springsteen, Eureka, all those mills that his father had added to his grandfather Sam White's holdings. So that was his primary job. And then he was very successful at that. He brought Spring-made sheets and Springs products into a worldwide product across the textile industry, one of the largest in the world.